Welcome back, sewists. You may remember almost a year ago, I made a video on plain weave fabrics, all about how you can tell one plain weave from another. And it was a very fun video to make. I have to admit, I'm quite a fabric nerd. And I want to do another fun fabric facts video for you today. Now, because I am a fabric nerd, I have to tell you a little tell on myself. When I first began working in the sewing industry, I worked for a lovely fabric store in Tulsa, and we often had sewing guilds and events at our store. And one time we had a lovely fiber artist who was a master weaver come and speak to a group in our store. And I was such a fangirl of hers. She was a customer of ours. She was generous and lovely with her knowledge, and just in general, a really lovely human. And I was, I'm sure, really obnoxious that night. I was fangirling way over the moon that night, sat on the front row, laughed too loud, just was way too engaged. I should have sat in the hall. I'm sure everyone would have enjoyed it much more, but she was such a lovely lady. Her name was Ruth. And I have a couple of her beautiful fabrics that she gave to me when I left work to become a mom, and we actually moved hours away at that time, and she gave me a beautiful baby blanket and a couple of other pieces of her hand weaving that I have stored away. They're actually stored so far away that I couldn't pull them out for this video, but at some point I'm going to recatalog all of my gorgeous things, and I'll pull them out and share them with you because they're just so beautiful. So that is one of my little intersections with the fiber artists that are out there, and weaving and textiles and how fabrics are made. And I have always just found it so fascinating. So today we're going to talk about Dobby fabrics. So let's do a fit check. This, I'm sure you've seen many times. I made it. This is the title card for this shirt. One of the many reasons I love this shirt is that it's a Dobby fabric. So let me just show you a little close-up of this fabric. At first glance, it just looks like a micro gingham check. But when you look closer, you can see the intricate little design in there, and it actually has some texture change. So it has not only the gingham, but the design and a stripe that's woven in. It's very interesting. You might remember from a haul I did recently, I picked up another Dobby fabric that I want to make this shirt in, and here's a little close-up of it. Pink with sort of a dark gray design in it, but you can see it has a stripe. It has more going on. It actually has more happening when you look at the weave. One of the ways you can tell a Dobby fabric is that it has a geometric design woven in as well as texture. Now, it can be made in any fiber. You might see purses that are woven in. You might see industrial things like heavy duty. It can be rain resistant. Lots of things can have a Dobby design woven into it. Today, mostly what I'm going to show you are cottons and cotton blends with a few silks, but it can be made in any fiber. Now, how can you tell if it's a Dobby as opposed to a jacquard, a damask, a brocade, something like that? And I'm not going to go deep dive into all of those because I can tell you each one could have their own video. But here's the basic explanation between Dobby, jacquard, damask, and brocade. They're all woven fabrics, and they all have a woven in design. Now, Dobby is always a small design, and it's geometric. And that's like in my shirt. It has a little geometric design in a stripe, and it's very tiny. I'm going to be reading below, so if you see me look down, I just have my notes right here. All are woven in fabrics with a woven in pattern or design. Dobby is created specifically on a Dobby loom, and all the others are created on a jacquard loom. You could make Dobby on a jacquard loom, but as a rule they don't, because jacquard looms are usually used for more intricate, larger repeating designs, not something so simple and geometric as a Dobby. Though Dobby can be quite intricate, it's definitely considered more simple than the others. If you think of it this way, this is how I like to think of it. Jacquard is like the big broad term that all of the other things fit under. So if you're doing this in like a biological or taxonomic classifications, jacquard would be the family, and everything else would be considered the genesis or the genus of the of that group. So damask is a reversible fabric. So it's usually a single color. It usually kind of looks satin and matte, and it has a woven in, usually large pattern, and it is completely reversible. You can use either side. So if you want more satin side, you use one. If you want a more matte side, you use the other. Brocade is another specific type of jacquard, and it is usually heavyweight, has a raised design, and often will have a metallic thread in it. Brocade is usually considered like a heavy, rich fabrics, often with a gold or silver thread in it, and often it could be real gold or real silver. So let's just look real quick. This is a jacquard loom. And one of the ways to make that intricate design is through these punch cards. This system has been around a long time. It's really amazing how early on we learned how to make designs using this punch card system. An Adobe loom, all looms look somewhat alike, but if you notice this one, instead of having the punch cards, it has these wooden slats that hang down with little knobs on them, and that helps determine the design. Dobby looms are usually a little more simple because the design is more simple. Even if you have lots of thread colors, even multiple design repeats, because the design is so small and usually so simple, a check, a stripe, a diamond, it's just much more simple. Here is a jacquard, and when you look at it, you notice it's sort of a satin fabric with an all-over pattern of bugs, but they are asymmetric as far as like they face in multiple directions. The pattern is more spread out, so this is a jacquard. All of these that I'm going to talk about, though, can be considered a jacquard. Here is a brocade, and you'll notice that it looks heavy. It has lots of colors. You can see the design is raised, and there is a gold thread in there. This one is a damask. This came from Mood, and so did the brocade above it. And this is just, to me, so classic. I always think of these as those heavy curtains around beds. And it's reversible. So on this side, you see that the design is the satin side and the background is matte. But if you flipped this fabric over, it would be the reverse. The background would be satin and the design would be matte. And this is a beautiful Dobby. I just think it's so elegant and lovely. Look at how pretty that design is. And you can see it's got an intricate design, but it's geometric. It's very consistent throughout. Now that we're sort of thinking in these terms, you may think about upholstery. So here is a beautiful upholstery fabric, very simple design, and here it is shown in a chair and in a curtain. This exact same fabric. And you can see what a simple little design, but how pretty it is. And now let's look at a couple from the Smithsonian Collection. When doing research for this, I looked at FIT, Smithsonian. I went all over trying to find examples of Dobby fabrics. And I found that a lot of things are just not classified as Dobby, but if I put in jacquard, it would come up. Sometimes I had to put in homespun, which is a whole other thing, but it works and it makes sense when you see it. This interesting yellow and gray sort of pinwheel design is from the Smithsonian, and so is this one next to it. I'm sorry it's in black and white, but that's just how they have it scanned into their computer. But isn't it interesting? And I believe it was a coverlet. Now, this has been a popular fabric, the Dobby, for hundreds and hundreds of years. And this is another example from the Smithsonian, and this is a silk from approximately 1790. And doesn't it look like, couldn't you see Martha Washington in this? Doesn't that look like it would make a lovely lady's day dress? And here is a modern silk Dobby that's not as intricate as far as the floral design. They look similar period, even though one's modern and one is from the 1790s. Here's another. This is a vintage gray and white Dobby that definitely looks like it could have been a shirt or a dress. And this is an 1850s dress that I found on the FIT archive. That's Fashion Institute and Technology. This dress is from 1815, and if you look closely, you can see the delicate little woven-in Dobby design. Now, this dress I found on Etsy. It's from the 1870s, and look at that delicate weave. in there. The pattern, when you look at the overall, it just looks like it might have a little delicate flower, and up close it almost looks like red staining. I'm very curious about the red overall, little red smudgy bits on it and how that came to be, if that's part of the original design or if it's stained with something. It's pretty even, so I'm uncertain about that. Okay, this fabric is a vintage fabric from approximately 1900. I also found this on Etsy. If you would like vintage and historic findings, fabrics, or fashions, Etsy is a great place to go. And this looks like something we could buy today, doesn't it? It actually looks like it's in excellent condition too. They had quite a few yards of this beautiful vintage fabric. And isn't that interesting? And you can see it has a woven in design, sort of a plaid, and then on top of that it has a woven in texture of the little diamonds with the little centers in them. So here are a couple more things that I found in Etsy that are dresses from the 1950s. These would be just little casual day dresses. And this pink one has a little tie on the shoulder. And then if you look at the fabric up close, it is a plaid, but you'll see that it has texture. It has it has more than just a flat plaid. You can see the woven in, the yarns change. So it has not, every yarn is not the same. It has some thicker yarns and thinner yarns, which can be a thing that you will find in Dobby fabrics. Some of the yarns will change in your warp or your weft to give you that design. Usually in the weft, but not always. In this one, it has warp and weft going, with the black being a little bit thicker yarn, it appears. This red gingham check is very similar to the one that I'm wearing. It's just a little gingham check, but then if you look closely, it has sort of a stripe with a open weave. It almost looks like a little lattice in there. Very sweet. And I found both of these on Etsy. There is another coverlet from the 1800s. Another place that you might find Dobby in your home is your sheets. So we've talked about our chairs, our curtains, and our coverlets, and now we're down to sheets. And here's a very similar one that you can buy just as a fabric that would make a beautiful shirt or dress or something like that. But it's, again, similar with a woven in, slightly raised stripe. I think I've mentioned my personal love of Dobby fabrics, and I have made quite a few projects with them here on this channel. So here are a few that you might have noticed besides the one I'm wearing. And all of these fabrics came from Hobby Lobby. So this is Simplicity 8912, and this fabric, I love this fabric so much. It was just a navy blue with a white design. It sort of looks a little ethnic, also homespun. I just thought it was beautiful. This new look, 6511, is a very basic little dress. I wear this dress all summer. It's a heavier textured fabric, but it's an easy to wear dress. I put pockets in it. It has a little cap sleeve. And I took the scraps of this dress and I made kitchen towels out of it. It's perfect. It's just a cotton fabric. It was perfect for a nice heavy kitchen towel. And then this one, I bought the same fabric in two colorways. So with the white with the black in it and the black with the white in it. And I made this fun shirt from a tropical shirt pattern. And all of these came from Hobby Lobby, and I think they still are in the stores. Now, another place you often see Dobby, and I think this is the first place that I became very aware of Dobby, was in my dad's shirts. My dad wears a lot of tailored Western shirts, and they often have beautiful fabrics. And this one is from Ralph Lauren of Australia, and it just looks like a men's work shirt, but when you look up close, look at how nice this fabric, this design is in this Dobby. There's a company called Proper Cloth, and they had some gorgeous examples of Dobbies. Here are a few. Again, this one reminds me a little of the dress that I made. This one is just a stunning shirting. And this one, I believe, is Portuguese. And it has, again, you can see the very regular, all over, not true gingham check, but sort of a check with lots of floating yarns. Here's some nice Dobby examples from Mood. This is another shirting fabric. I think we don't realize how often the shirts or basic things that we wear have such interesting fabrics. You need to get in your closet and look close at those fabrics. And this one's called Frames, and it's another one from Mood. I think this is a little heavier weight, would make a nice jacket. Now, Japan is also known for their Dobby fabrics. This first one is from the Smithsonian, and I'll have to put in the name of the weaver here, who's kind of a well-known Japanese weaver. I want to say from the 1960s is when this fabric was from. And this is a modern shirt from a Japanese company called Sumo. But look at how cool the fabric weave is in this. It looks heavy, but also soft and drapey. Such an interesting combination. Did you know that dotted Swiss is considered Dobby? And we see dotted Swiss everywhere. I actually am quite a fan of dotted Swiss. And here is a dotted Swiss and stripe. And a lot of times when you see Dobby fabrics, like this one, another dotted Swiss and stripe, they combine multiple textures, but again, in a small, even, geometric way. Okay, this I thought you might find interesting if you're a fabric nerd like I am. When I was researching Dobby, this came up on a software company's site. They make software for the looms for fabric manufacturing, and this is a schematic for Adobe Design. And I just thought you might find this interesting. You can see how they are choosing their colorations. They have a close-up. They have a close-up of just the print, and then how the colorway will be with the stripe in it. So let's just look at some examples of Dobby fabrics. Whenever possible, I tried to find a picture that showed the front and the back because I think it's super interesting. You can see where the floating yarns are. This one's very regular, small diamond pattern. And this one is a dot. These look like work shirts to me. I love this one. It's sort of like a window pane check with an interesting design in it. This looks like it could be a tablecloth. It could be a shirt. And this one is the one I showed in the beginning as an example of a Dobby fabric. And I love the delicateness of this with the striking sort of zigzag and stripe design in it. Okay, this next one is one of my favorite ones that I found when looking. I'm pretty sure this is from Etsy, and I loved the beautiful coloration, how you can see the repeating pattern, but there's a lot going on in this small repeating pattern. Here's a waffle weave, Dobby. It sort of looks like a flower design in a stripe, came in like 20 colors. And I just picked one that you could see the contrast, the colorations, and that was really pretty. And here's another one that has the gingham check, but if you look close, you can see a diamond pattern over it. And though I have said all along that Dobbies are geometric designs, here is a floral Dobby. Now the floral is printed onto a Dobby weave. So we have the Dobby fabric, and then they've come back and printed on top of that the floral. Now I want to reiterate that fabric classification can be difficult, and often these will just be listed under jacquards, which is completely right and acceptable. But if you look close, you might be able to see that you can classify it down one more and call it a Dobby, or maybe a brocade or something else. It's fun to look at, and it's fun to try and figure out where to stick a fabric, though there's lots of blurry lines here. One of the things that you'll know with a Dobby is that it is a woven in design. So the front and the back are going to look different as far as the weaving. You'll see floating yarns, you'll see holes maybe where it's almost lattice-like. And you can have a Dobby with a printed on design. Sometimes fabrics will be called Dobby because they have slubs, which just means some yarns are thicker than others, but the weave is usually a plain weave or a twill. And then they print on the design on top that makes it look Dobby, but it's not actually. So you have to kind of watch that it's not a printed on Dobby, that it's actually woven in to be a true Dobby. It can have a woven in design and a printed on design, and it's still a Dobby. It needs to have the woven in to truly fit into this category. Well, I hope you found this interesting. I hope this was fun for you. I'd love to know if there's a fabric classification you're interested in. I love doing these deep dives and doing the research, and I would be glad to do some more. So we may continue to add to this fun fabric facts category and do some more fabrics, especially after I started looking at the jacquards, the brocades, and those. And then I thought, well, you know, there's also matelassé. There's quite a few that could fit in here, and that gets really confusing in my own head, trying to keep them separate and figure out which one goes in which category. So we'll definitely do this again. Okay, I would like to know, have you sewn with Dobby? Did you realize you were sewing with a Dobby fabric? Do you think I classified all of these correctly? I'm not an expert. I'm just a nerdy sewist who loves fabrics. And I would like to know your opinion on some of these. If you think there's some that should go in a different category, or if you would call it something else completely. I tried to really find fabrics that I knew would we could for sure put in that bucket, but I could still get something wrong. See you next week for another fun sewing video.